the militarization, commercialization of elections is possibly the worst enemy of dealing with corruption. Because the oversight which should be parliament, in order to get to parliament, you need 500 million at least to enter parliament, which you would have spent. So you actually enter parliament to look for more money for the next election. That's why for me, I can't spend a lot of time talking about the corrupt MPs. It is the system in which they operate. If you are not corrupt, you will not become an MP, actually. So they must, the parliament is like a market. Whoever passes through must pay, you know, including Mr. Museveni himself. He has to pay the MPs to pass what he wants to get. And he knows if he doesn't pay, they will also raise voice on him, on what they passed for him. So, how can you deal with corruption? If the owners of the money, the people whose money they are stealing, our money, if we have no sanctions on those who steal our money, we have none. And so once that had been crushed, now the official corruption went into overdrive. At the beginning of the NRA, still Museveni was taking money from the budget, but he would hide it in the Ministry of Defense. There was a space to get public land and officially give it to friends and in-laws and relatives. You know, prime land that they are investors. They now coined that investor. Public land. Land for schools, land for university, land for hospitals. Botanica land was taken for prisons, for what, you know, wherever they, because at least people have been, at least within the law, they refuse to give him power over all other land. So now they have been just stealing the government land, largely. Also private, they come and create all kinds of situations to take public land, land grabbing. But those are generally individuals also. But the official stealing of public land is unbelievable. And possibly the worst perpetrator of all this corruption is the tenderpreneurship. That we have in the country. Every deal is sealed in the State House. Every deal. State House is the clearing house of any deal. If you see whether it's a building like this coming up, you know that State House has a hand. If you see any factory, it was negotiated in State House. If you see any road being constructed, the one who won the tender of the road won it in the State House. To the extent I hear some, now he is the habitant. Now you took the other one yesterday. Now you wait, let this one now take. This one, the other one take. That is how business is conducted in Uganda. Every investor who wants to invest in Uganda must first find a way of reaching State House. And reaching State House is through the relatives, friends, and so on. So all that and more, again, because of time I can't go in it, but what I want to demonstrate is simply that we cannot talk about corruption, later on dealing with it, ending it, fighting it, without fighting the entity called Museveni and his family. We can't. It's a joke. It's like a beehive. You can kill many bees as long as the queen is still there producing more bees. The bee, what do they call it? The group will remain intact. The colony, the bee group, the kiswa of bees. You cannot deal with it without looking for it. Or the ant hill, ekiswa kyenyini, the kiswa. It will continue building unless you dig and get where the queen resides. So the queen of corruption is in the state house. That must be made abundantly clear. And that's why now, indeed, it's like a royal home. It's a royal home with princes and princesses. The opulence in the state house is unprecedented. Opulence. Which is again part of official corruption. Opulence. Because why should the president of a highly indebted poor country, for example, buy a presidential jet at $60 or $80 million to sit at the airport doing nothing? You hire pilots, engineers, to work on it, but it's doing nothing until you want to travel abroad. It can't be internally, because internally that's the only place it can run. But we all spend, and the rest of the other opulent expenditures in the state house is all part of this corruption and emulated by all the others. So that's why whoever becomes anything wants an escort. Escort you for what? They will escort vehicle, lead vehicle, what, including all these peasants we have been suffering with in the trenches, as soon as they get into office. Because they have an example to watch for. Dealing with corruption, therefore, takes three things to my mind. First, you need a fair and accountable system. You must have an accountable system where the owners of public goods and assets have power to check those who use them. A system of checks and balances, starting with the owners of public goods and assets. That system, if it is not there, you will not deal with corruption. Secondly, you need a system of detection to alert you when corruption happens. And thirdly, you need a system of deterrence, consequences. If you were caught, then you know the consequences are coming, automatically follow. But when you can steal with impunity, as happens here, you can divide what is called the national cake the way you want, and there are no consequences. You take 802 billion to your home in broad daylight, and nothing happens. The street children remain there, those without school fees remain there, those without health care remain there. Then nothing will happen. So, what do we do in all this? As I have pointed out, development to impact people policies that people have a say on. That's where it starts. We have no say on the priorities our money is applied to. We have no say. So although we want health care, only about 4%, the highest I think Uganda has spent on health care has been 7%. Otherwise it is 4%, 3% on health, on our health. No wonder people are lying on the compound in Malabo. So, although we know we need to spend more on healthcare, we have no voice. Although we know we need to spend more on education, we have no voice. Although we know we need to spend more on water and sanitation, on all the things that impact our bodies, our lives directly, we have no choice. We have no voice. So the starting point in solving the injustices, in solving corruption, is all for the people to have a voice. We regain our voice, influence, and power over the state of Uganda. Nothing will happen. Which is why we have been strenuously pointing especially to our elites to understand, to appreciate that the struggle the people of Uganda have today is not a struggle for leadership, which is what elections solve. Elections are supposed to select leaders, but you can't select leaders when you have no power. So we are pre-elections. The struggle we have must be, first of all, to regain control, to regain power, including to regain our vote, because a vote is a voice, which we don't have. We don't have a vote now. Yet you find people are so preoccupied with elections when we have no vote. So before the next election, before 2026, if we want 2026 to have meaning, we must have a new order in Uganda before 2026. Before the next election, we must work ourselves to get a new order in Uganda, where we have a say for ourselves. And for that to happen, every Ugandan must become active, or the greatest majority at least must become active in their own cause. We must get to understand that this is not a cause for politicians alone. No. It's a cause for you in the media, it's a cause for teachers, it's a cause for soldiers, it's a cause for bishops and reverends and sheikhs and muftis, and it's our entire cause to regain control over the country. That realization must come quickly.